There are places on Earth where nature does not build toward disaster in a way people instinctively understand. No long shaking, no towering wave on the horizon, no obvious countdown. The light can be clean, the air can feel still, the ground can look stable, and then, almost instantly, the place stops being a landscape and becomes a trap. A beach can appear open, bright, and harmless until a single wave runs far beyond the pattern people thought they had already learned. A desert canyon can sit under blue sky while rain falling miles away sends a wall of water into stone too narrow to escape. A volcano can look quiet enough for tourism, quiet enough for hiking, quiet enough for photographs, until steam and pressure break through rock with almost no practical warning for the people standing closest. Even a lake can kill, without fire, without flame, and without any visible attacker at all. This is a film about zones where the natural world can turn lethal before the human brain fully catches up. Not places that look terrifying from the start, but places that look manageable. Places that invite ordinary behavior. Places where the fatal mistake is often not recklessness, but trust. On the Pacific coast, that trust begins with the oldest visual lie in nature: repetition. People watch a beach for a few minutes and assume the ocean is showing them its rules. Small sets roll in. Foam reaches one line in the sand, then pulls back. Logs sit undisturbed. Children walk the edge of the wash. Cameras come out. Shoes come off. The scene feels legible. But in parts of the U.S. West Coast and on exposed Pacific shores, waves do not always arrive in the pattern people expect. Sneaker waves can surge much farther up the beach than the run of waves before them, racing across dry sand with enough force to knock adults off their feet and drag them into cold water. The danger is not just the water itself, it is the speed, the surprise, the footing lost in the first second, and the brutal fact that cold surf does not give people much time to recover. Nearby, another hazard works differently, but kills for the same reason. Rip currents do not look like movie monsters. They are narrow, fast-moving channels of water flowing away from shore, often through gaps in sandbars or along structures and irregular beach shape. People step into surf that seems playful, then suddenly realize they are no longer moving toward land. Panic does the rest. Every year in the United States, rip currents are linked to more than 100 deaths, even though they happen on beaches that can look inviting from the parking lot. That is what makes the coast so deceptive. The threat is not always a dramatic storm. It can be a normal-looking beach on a normal-looking day. The confidence people bring with them becomes part of the danger. A beach is supposed to mean relief. Instead, it can become one of the fastest places on Earth to lose control. In the desert Southwest, the illusion changes form. Here, danger arrives through stillness. Slot canyons feel ancient, narrow, and protected. High walls cut out wind. Light pours down in clean, vertical shafts. Sand underfoot suggests dryness, even permanence. Visitors move deeper because the place feels enclosed, sheltered, almost architectural. But a slot canyon is also a drainage system. It doesn't matter whether the floor where you stand is dry. It matters what is happening in the watershed beyond your sight. Rain falling miles away can funnel into a confined channel with terrible speed. The canyon that seemed like shelter can become a pipe. In August 1997, a flash flood tore through Antelope Canyon in northern Arizona. Visitors were inside when the water came through the slot. The guide survived. 11 tourists did not. The event became one of the most widely remembered canyon disasters in the American Southwest because it exposed the mismatch between appearance and reality. There was no need for thunder directly overhead, no need for rain on the canyon floor. The geometry of the place was enough. Once the water entered that narrowing stone corridor, there was almost nowhere to go.
That is the psychology of sudden natural death in a confined landscape.
By the time the danger becomes visible, the physics are already decided. Water is heavier than instinct. Stone walls that felt beautiful minutes earlier become barriers. The canyon keeps its shape, the human body does not. On mountains, the trap often lies in timing. Volcanoes are commonly imagined as giant events with giant warning signs, red lava, roaring explosions, visible plumes. But some eruptions are far smaller in scale and far worse for the people closest to them, because they come from steam-driven blasts called phreatic eruptions. These can happen when water within a volcano's hydrothermal system flashes violently into steam, breaking rock apart and hurling ash and blocks outward. They can be sudden, localized, and brutally difficult to forecast at the point where human decisions are made. That was the reality on Mount Ontake in central Japan on September 27, 2014. It was a clear day in the middle of hiking season. Many people were near the summit. Just before noon, the volcano erupted. The mountain did not announce itself in the cinematic way people imagine. It detonated into the lives already on it. Ash reduced visibility. Ballistic rock fragments fell through areas crowded with hikers. More than 50 people were killed in what became Japan's deadliest volcanic disaster in the post-war era. The horror of Ontake lives in the contrast. The mountain was beautiful, the weather was good, the route was known. For many people there, the day had already been judged safe. That judgment was not foolish, it was human, and it was fatally outpaced by a system hidden under the surface. If Ontake revealed how quickly a popular mountain can change, Wakari, also known as White Island, revealed something even harder to ignore. How close tourism can move people to an active hazard zone while the landscape still feels like an attraction. Off the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, visitors were taken by boat onto an active volcanic island directly into a crater environment marked with steam vents, ash, sulfur, and acidic ground. The appeal was obvious. It was raw geology at walking distance, a place where Earth seemed open for inspection. On December 9, 2019, the volcano erupted while people were on the island. 47 people were there. 22 died, some at the scene and others later from their injuries. Many survivors suffered catastrophic burns. The eruption itself was brief, its consequences were not. Recovery was hindered by continuing danger, toxic conditions, and the cruel reality that a hydrothermal blast does not have to be large to be unsurvivable at close range. What Wakari stripped away was the comfortable assumption that access means control. Guided entry does not change the chemistry underfoot. Boats, schedules, helmets, and ticketing systems can create the feeling that risk has been processed, measured, and reduced to something acceptable. But nature does not honor the structure humans build around it. A crater that can be visited is still a crater. And then there is the place where almost every human instinct fails, because the killer cannot be seen. No flame, no wave, no moving rock, no visible beast. Just air that is no longer breathable. In August 1986, at Lake Nyos in northwestern Cameroon, a disaster unfolded that still feels almost unreal when described plainly. During the night, the lake released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide. The gas, heavier than ordinary air, moved outward and downslope through nearby communities. People and animals were overcome where they were sleeping or where they had tried to flee. More than 1,700 people died, along with thousands of livestock. Lake Nyos sits in a volcanic region, and carbon dioxide had accumulated in deep water under pressure. At some point, that system destabilized. The exact trigger has been debated, but the result was clear. The lake turned itself inside out and released a suffocating cloud. There was no fire to run from, no obvious sound that explained what was happening. In many cases, there was barely time to understand that anything was happening at all. This is where the documentary reaches the hardest truth. Human beings are not built to recognize every form of danger directly. We are good at reading teeth, speed, flame, motion, height. We are much worse at reading gases, pressure systems, remote rainfall, subsurface heat, or ocean behavior that breaks pattern only once. Nature does not need to be loud to be final. What connects these places is not just death, it is the collapse of the normal human sequence for survival. Usually, danger is supposed to announce itself, then be recognized, then trigger a response. In these zones, that chain breaks. The signal is weak, hidden, misunderstood, or delayed. By the time the scene looks dangerous, people may already be inside the outcome. That does not mean these places are unknowable. The coast can be read by those who respect cold water, wave run-up, and current structure. Canyon country can be approached with ruthless attention to weather over the wider drainage, not just the sky overhead. Volcanoes can be monitored, though some of their most violent local hazards remain difficult to predict with precision. Lakes like Nyos can be studied, engineered, and partially mitigated. Knowledge matters, systems matter, warning culture matters. But the final lesson is not comforting, it is clarifying. Beauty is not evidence of safety, familiarity is not evidence of control, access is not evidence of permission. The Earth contains places where the margin between ordinary and fatal is so thin that the change can happen before the mind has finished naming it. A clean beach, a silent canyon, a bright mountain path, a tourist crater, a calm lake at night. None of these scenes automatically mean danger. That is exactly why they matter, because the deadliest natural places are not always the ones that look extreme from a distance. Sometimes they are the ones that let us step closer, breathe deeper, relax, and believe, for one moment too long, that nothing is about to happen.